Grab your coffee because today we're serving crime. This is Coffee and Crime AU, where Australia's darkest cases meet your morning brew. I'm Linda, and each week we dive into real investigations, timelines, and the details that don't sit right. Sip slow, this one's heavy. December 7th, 2003. It was a warm Sunday morning on Queensland's Sunshine Coast. 11-year-old Daniel Morcombe stood at a bus stop along a busy road, holding a few dollars in his pocket and excited for a trip to the local shopping centre. He never made it there. In broad daylight, on one of the state's busiest roads, Daniel vanished. What followed was one of the largest and longest-running child abduction investigations in Australian history. A case that would haunt a nation for 8 years, devastate a family, and ultimately change child safety laws across the country. This is the story of Daniel Morcombe. Daniel Morcombe was born on December 19, 1991. He was the middle child of Bruce and Denise Morcombe, with two brothers who adored him. Friends described Daniel as kind, energetic, and full of curiosity. He loved cricket and music and spending time outdoors. He wasn't a troubled child, and he wasn't rebellious. He was just simply a typical 11-year-old boy growing up in a close, loving family on Queensland's Sunshine Coast. On the morning of December 7th, Daniel asked his parents if he could catch the bus to Sunshine Plaza to buy Christmas presents and get a haircut. It was something he had done before, so it felt ordinary and it felt safe, routine. That sense of normality is what makes this story so deeply unsettling. Around 9 a.m, Daniel left his home and he walked to the bus stop on Nambour Connection Road in Mumbai. The bus stop was on a busy stretch of the highway. Cars passed constantly. Homes were nearby. It was not an isolated rural road. But there was construction nearby that day, and the usual bus stop location had been temporarily moved across the highway. Witnesses later reported seeing Daniel speaking to an unknown man near a car. One bus driver remembered Daniel missing the bus because he was on the wrong side of the road. Then, he was gone. When Daniel didn't return home that afternoon, his parents knew something was wrong. Bruce and Denise reported him missing the same day, and within hours, police began searching. The disappearance of a child in daylight stunned the community. Police launched a major investigation involving hundreds of officers. There were helicopters scanning bushland, tracking dogs, thousands of volunteers combing through the dense terrain. Posters with Daniel's face appeared across Queensland. His bright smile became instantly recognisable nationwide. The case received intense coverage across Australia. Television bulletins, newspapers, and radio shows urged anyone with information to come forward. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Still, there was no sign of Daniel. The uncertainty was agonising for his family. Every phone call brought hope, but often heartbreak. As time passed, the case grew cold. Police followed thousands of leads. Suspects were questioned. Persons of interest were investigated. But there was never enough evidence, and for Bruce and Denise, life became a painful routine of public appeals and private grief. They refused to let their son's name fade from the public consciousness. Each year on December 7th, they held vigils. They spoke to the media. They asked for answers. Behind the scenes, detectives continued reviewing evidence and re-interviewing witnesses, analysing forensic material as technology improved, and the case remained open. In 2011, 8 years after Daniel disappeared, police launched a covert undercover operation. An elaborate sting operation was designed to gain the trust of a long-time suspect, Peter Cowan. Undercover officers posed as criminals and befriended Cowan, slowly building a relationship over months. Eventually, during recorded conversations, Cowan made incriminating statements about Daniel's abduction. He revealed details that had never been made public. And in August 2011, Peter Cowan was arrested and charged with Daniel's murder. The trial began in 2014 and drew intense media attention across Australia. The court heard that Cowan had approached Daniel at the bus stop and offered him a lift and abducted him. Evidence revealed that Daniel was taken to a remote bushland area. The details were confronting and deeply distressing. For the Morcombe family, sitting through the trial meant reliving the worst day of their lives, but this time with horrifying clarity. In March 2014, the jury found Cowan guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with no possibility of parole. Justice, at least in legal terms, had finally been served. Following Cowan's arrest, he eventually led police to Daniel's remains in bushland on the Sunshine Coast. After 8 years of uncertainty, the Morcombe family could finally bring their son home. It was a moment of profound grief, but also a moment of closure. The long nightmare of not knowing was over. Rather than retreat into private grief, Bruce and Denise Morcombe chose a different path. They founded the Daniel Morcombe Foundation. The foundation focuses on educating children about personal safety, awareness, and reporting unsafe situations. Recognise, react, report. This became its guiding message. Each year, schools across Australia participate in Day for Daniel, a national child safety awareness event. Thousands of children wear red to honour Daniel and learn how to protect themselves. Because of one family's determination, Daniel's name became synonymous not only with tragedy, but with protection. Daniel's case reshaped conversations around child abduction awareness, also around public reporting systems, media involvement in missing persons cases, and also community vigilance. It also demonstrated the power of long-term investigative persistence. 8 years is such a long time, but the police never stopped, and neither did Daniel's parents. Daniel Morcombe was just 11 years old. He should have grown up. He should have had decades ahead of him. Instead, his life was stolen, but his impact continues. His story is heartbreaking, but it's also a reminder to stay aware, trust your instincts, and look out for one another. If you found this story important, share it to help keep Daniel's legacy alive. And as always, comment respectfully below, because behind every true crime story is a real family who still feel the loss. Thanks for listening to Coffee and Crime AU. If you found this case interesting, follow the podcast and share it. It really helps the show to grow. And remember, Sometimes the smallest detail can change everything.